Excellent. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Welcome to our council meeting en présentiel après 2 ans. Je suis tellement content de vous voir ici aujourd'hui et les gens, bien sûr, qui nous suivent sur l'ordinateur virtuel. Je suis accompagné, comme d'habitude, avec notre conseil, Mme Catherine Clément-Talbot. Bonsoir. Mme Louise Leroux. Bonsoir. Benoît Langevin. Bonsoir à tous. Et nouvellement arrivé, M. Shahid Arakjan. Avant qu'on commence avec la période des questions, je suis accompagné aussi de Marie-Pierre Cloutier, responsable de nos communications, et bien sûr Dominique Jacob, notre directeur d'arrondissement, et les autres services qui nous accompagnent par ordinateur. Et si jamais on n'a pas la réponse pour une question posée ce soir, ça va nous faire plaisir de vous transmettre la réponse, soit par courriel ou vous appeler par la suite. Again, thank you very much for being here. 2 years later, we find ourselves in this environment once again, so we're very happy about that. Finally, we get to see the folks that we meet on a regular basis, but don't have the opportunity to see you here in this council chamber. Again, I'm accompanied by Catherine Clément-Talbot, Louise Leroux, Benoît Langevin, and Shahid Arakjan, and of course, Marie-Pierre Cloutier, who's responsible for communications in the borough, and Dominique Jacob, who is our director of the borough services, and of course, other services and directors that are accompanying us, but virtually, this first meeting back after a long absence, and hopefully, as we progress post-pandemic, we'll find ourselves in larger numbers in these rooms to be able to do what we do as a council once a month, particularly in public. Enfin, après 2 ans en virtuel, où j'étais seul dans cette salle du Conseil, je suis très heureux de présider le Conseil ce soir. Je voulais vous parler un peu de qu'est-ce qu'on a commencé ce matin, what we started today. C'est le lancement de la tournée de prévention et prévision de la crue printanière à Pierrefonds-Roxboro. C'est la manière proactive que notre conseil d'arrondissement a débuté sa 5e année consécutive de campagne de prévention en prévision des crues printanières, afin d'aider, bien sûr, les citoyens et citoyennes à se préparer en cas d'inondation sur le territoire. Aujourd'hui, demain et mercredi, en collaboration avec les agents de service incendie de Montréal et du service de police de Montréal, se tient une tournée porte-à-porte dans les zones riveraines, aux abords de la rivière des Prairies, afin d'aller à la rencontre des résidents et des résidentes pour leur remettre une guide de citoyens en cas d'inondation. Soyez prêts. Suite à des inondations 2017, bien sûr, et 2019 encore, on a appris beaucoup, mais on fait beaucoup plus à l'arrondissement pour protéger l'arrondissement et les citoyens qui demeurent surtout au bord de la rivière. Demain, je serai accompagné de Mme Catherine Clément-Talbot, M. Tarakjan et M. Langevin et Mme Leroux, s'ils sont disponibles, vont venir avec nous. We have started our campaign for the flood season. We started today. We will be continuing tomorrow and Wednesday, where we will be visiting residents that were affected so drastically in 2017. We do this, of course, in collaboration with the fire services and also the police, and as well members of council, not only to advise folks what to do to prepare their homes in the event that there is a flood, but also what to do not only before, during, and after. And at the same time, the fire department will give them some insight as well, documentations, and will also verify their smoke detectors at the same time. And this is the 5th year that we've done this because we feel that there's a need to be able to at least give the residents the information they need for them to be able to act accordingly in terms of protecting their living environment. And of course, we give them all the numbers and contacts to call should they be in a situation where they need additional support. Je veux remercier aussi les membres du CIM et de l'SPVM de nous accompagner dans ces démarches. J'ai quelques questions ce soir sur Saint-Charles, le PPC-moi, le PPU Saint-Charles, etc. Je vais essayer de répondre, je pense que ça va répondre à ces questions-là. Comme prévu par le processus démocratique de la nouvelle politique de participation citoyenne de Pierrefonds-Roxboro, adoptée au mois de janvier dernier, nous annonçons ce soir la première étape publique dans le dossier de plan particulier d'urbanisme du boulevard Saint-Charles, que se traduit par la tenue de soirées de présentation publique qui se déroulera le mardi 17 mai au Centre culturel de Pierrefonds à 19 h. Bien sûr, on va annoncer l'information sur le site web, les médias sociaux, comme on fait d'habitude, pour informer les gens, mais aussi de les encourager de participer à ce processus. Les gens qui voudront assister en personne devront s'enregistrer au préalable. Il sera également possible de visionner en direct la séance via web diffusion. Et cette séance d'information qui sera animée par la firme consultante experte en urbanisme Apure, mandatée par l'Arrondissement, la présentation sera suivie d'une période de questions pour le public présent dans la salle afin de bien comprendre la démarche de consultation qui suivra dans la suite. Et dans les semaines qui suivront la séance d'information publique, l'arrondissement lancera une consultation publique via une plateforme de participation publique simple et conviviale où les gens pourront exprimer leurs préoccupations. So once again, for the St. Charles potential future development, whatever that may be, there were concerns with the public, particularly that lives in the neighboring areas, that were curious to see how we do something like this when a project is presented to us like some of the multi-level dwellings that were proposed a while back. We as council took a step back, listened to the residents, and we felt that if we were to ever develop St. Charles accordingly, then we would do it not piecemeal, but we would do it as a collective project that would be uniform in the area, that would respond to the preoccupations of the citizens that live in that area as well. And this is why that hold was put early in the year, where we are saying that on the 17th of May, we will be doing a presentation with the firm that we have mandated to do this, that will present the process to the citizens who are not only present at the Cultural Center on the 17th of May at 7 p.m., but also virtually, that will have an opportunity to better understand the process. And then from that, we will go into whatever time it takes, the several weeks following that event, to allow for the proper consultations to take place and invite the citizens concerned to really guide us and guide us as a community to get this right. If we look at some of the main arteries in the borough particularly, we know that they were developed since many decades. And they were done in a way that didn't necessarily look at the bigger picture. And so if we look at St. Charles as being that example and getting it right, let's do it in a way that not only responds to the need of our community, but also understands a lot of the issues that the residents, particularly the ones that live in that area, may be experiencing or may experience in the future should we move too quickly. And so that is something that I hope, and we'll get to the question period at that time, hopefully we'll respond to some of the questions that we have. Je vous invite aussi à célébrer le retour de notre événement Leadership au féminin, le mercredi 6 avril, qui est le mercredi à 19h30 au Centre culturel de Pierrefonds, entouré de femmes de votre communauté, en assistant à une conférence sur la motivation et le dépassement de soi offerte par Sylvie Fréchette, médaillée d'or olympique en nage synchronisé. Leadership au féminin is the event, and it falls well tonight, I suppose, because we have some questions on some of the pool issues that we've been following and I've been seeing on social media. So hopefully we can bring some clarity to that file to respond to some of the concerns that the residents may have. And so she will be a guest speaker at this event, and it takes place on Wednesday at 7:30. And if you haven't registered already, you can through our website of the borough. La journée de jardinage, c'est le 28 mai prochain, de 9 h à midi, dans le rond-point du stationnement ici à côté de la mairie. Je vous invite de participer en grand nombre à cet événement-là, parce que ce n'est pas juste la distribution de plantes qu'on fait à cet événement-là. On a les experts aussi sur les lieux qui vous encouragent, bien sûr, de faire le jardinage, mais les experts en horticulture aussi et la division des événements travaillent très fort pour mettre cet événement à pied à cause qu'on ne l'a pas eu pour les 2 dernières années. Et là, comme on a vu la dernière fois, quand on a fait un événement récemment, on avait beaucoup de gens qui ont participé parce que post-pandémie, on veut vraiment sortir, participer à des activités communautaires. Our gardening day is scheduled for the 28th of May from 9 to noon, of course, here as usual at the parking lot of City Hall. And we encourage you to participate because not only is it, like I mentioned in French, the distribution of some seedlings and some plants, but also we have local organizations and our horticultural experts that will provide you with information should you need it and want to get involved in gardening in your own homes and be a part of that incredible movement. I know that I am, and I love it, and it brings a lot of peace and joy to someone's life when the way I've always thought of it is close to the ground and being a part of that aspect of our little nature in our yard. La marche du maire, c'est le 29 mai prochain. Le parcours a une distance de 8 km cette année. Encore, on se trouve à la marche du maire après 2 ans de ne pas faire cet événement-là. Un événement qui est très populaire avec les résidents. La dernière fois, si je ne me trompe pas, on avait à peu près 300 personnes qui ont participé à cet événement. Et je vous encourage, not to go see Star Wars, mais de participer. I think it's Star Wars. I thought it was Star Trek, but maybe it's Star Wars. So we encourage you to participate, folks. The message here is that we're starting to get out of all of this confinement, and any opportunity we have to get out as a community, we encourage that, and we hope that you do as well. And if you can't walk the 8 kilometers, we have a little shuttle that follows us, so if you can do only a few of those kilometers, you're welcome to do them. It's the idea of this, when we started this years ago, was to create that community spirit and get people involved, to get better know their neighbors, and to sometimes walk through areas that you would never go by car and allow us to experience our community in a different way. Madame Leroux, vous avez quelque chose à ajouter?
Oui, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le maire. Justement, on a un club de marche dans le secteur de Pierrefonds-Roxboro. So we have a walking club in the area. So each Saturday morning, 9:45, on the corner of the 2nd Street and Gouin. Well, we start there and we're doing 1 hour walk. Donc, une marche d'à peu près 1 heure à tous les samedis matins, 9h45. Fait que vous pouvez commencer déjà l'entraînement pour être fin et prêt pour la marche du maire. Donc, c'est gratuit, puis on visite des endroits là, dans le quartier. Donc, je vous invite le samedi matin, 9h45. La marche débute à 10h pile et il y a un petit 15 minutes là, de réchauffement. So, 15 minutes of just warm up, and at 10 o'clock we're starting the walk. So, welcome everyone for the walking club on Saturday morning.
Madame Leroux, merci beaucoup. C'est noté et j'espère d'être capable de se joindre à vous prochainement. Sur ce, je termine avec ma rubrique et je passe la parole à Madame Cloutier pour la période des questions de nos citoyens.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Monsieur le maire. Alors, je vous remercie d'être présent ce soir. Vous avez reçu à votre entrée la procédure à respecter ce soir. Donc, on vous rappelle là, les petites règles d'usage en conformité avec les mesures COVID-19 de conserver votre masque là, en tout temps. Lorsque vous serez appelé au microphone, alors il y a un petit bouton que vous allez devoir peser pour ouvrir le microphone et pour le fermer par la suite. C'est bien indiqué là, par un petit post-it. On vous demanderait également de conserver le masque. Et si vous souhaitez par la suite vous désinfecter les mains, eh bien, il y a une petite canne avec des lingettes désinfectantes. So when your name is going to get called to ask your question to the elected official, you may turn on the microphone and turn it off. There is a little post-it to indicate where to push. We would demand that you keep your mask at all times, even when you are at the microphone. And please respect the 2 questions limit per person. Alors, on respecte, s'il vous plaît, là, les 2 questions par personne. Alors, on va débuter la période de questions avec Mme Marie-Ève Chénard. Merci.
second button from the right.
Ah oui, OK.
There you go.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Je vais procéder en anglais, puisque
Go
j'ai
ahead.
écrit ma
Go
question en
ahead.
anglais.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I'd like to talk about the Valley Crest situation. What requirements are stipulated in the contract with Vive Action to ensure aquatic programming, such as swim team, diving, synchro, water polo, and lessons are retained with the same frequency, duration, NAA affiliation?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for taking the time to come and voice your concern on an issue that I think is affecting some folks that have been used to the type of services that have been offered at Valley Crest, among other pools. We know that if I can give some history in why we are today where we are, the contract that's been given to this company is to manage the operations of the pool. It is also there and designed to be able to offer the swim lessons, but also the fitness courses and classes that are offered. As was done once upon a time, they will continue to do that. Anything NAA related, anything that is synchro, water polo, whatever it is, swimming competitions and so on, the community events, for example, the social gatherings that a nonprofit organization has done historically, really on the West Island, when you look at the way pools are designed here. And I have a background in some of that because I was managing that once upon a time in my previous life. That is the responsibility of the association. We have given the responsibility of managing the pool facilities, the hiring, for example, the managing of the day-to-day to this firm that will do it. However, we haven't excluded, we can't exclude the association from doing all the rest. And we have even presented it in such a way. So tomorrow morning, should Valley Crest Association come to us, as we've spoken to them numerous times through the last months, if they should come forward and say that they want to offer, like Versailles, for example, is the same situation, should they want to offer these courses or these types of programs that they've been traditionally doing in the past, we would welcome that. This started many years ago when we gave the pools at that time a clear vision of where we wanted to go with the outdoor pool system. Once we had analyzed and evaluated what the condition of our pool facilities were and discovered quickly the amount of money that was required just to bring them up to par, because they are facilities that go back, as you probably know, decades, right? Mm-hmm. And when we did that, the vision was that we will start to invest and build or transform these pools, some of them, the ones that we could acquire because they didn't belong to us, the ones that didn't, for example, to build municipal pools that would have free access to our population. And you know from the numbers, and I don't have them here, but I can tell you the numbers one day, the thousands of people that benefit from the day-to-day stuff. The additional things that what you're saying is the association. The first year of Valley Crest, the 2 years actually, when we built it and invested millions of dollars, we had a hybrid system. We had a company that came in and managed all the operational, all the equipment, the maintenance and all that to ensure that that was well taken care of, and allowed for the association to concentrate on the programming. And it worked that way for a little while. Up until the end of last year, I believe, we were told by the Valley Crest executive that some of the members would not be coming back. And we looked at this and said, we cannot find ourselves responsibly as a borough in a vulnerable situation where we don't have the facilities operating properly come the next year if we don't have personnel in place. So what we did, and this is very important to be factual here, since the beginning, we worked with the different pool associations to look at ways for them to assume that role and to manage both of those pool facilities. where we said, you're welcome to tell us that you want to do it or not. One of the pool associations decided that they couldn't do it, they didn't want to do it, whatever the reasons were, and I assisted some of those meetings, so I can tell you firsthand. And the other association wasn't sure. We did not, as a borough, managing these facilities that are now municipal, could not take a chance. So we had to go to tender, informing them that they also can bid on that opportunity to be able to have that contract. Well, surprisingly, disappointment to me, we didn't receive a bid from any of them, to the point where we received 3 bids, and the one that you see tonight that's up for adoption is the one that we're considering. So the programming aspect of it is still there, is what I'm saying. No one, and we certainly don't have the right to kick them out, because that's not our intention. We want Valley Crest, for example, to meet with our teams, hopefully tomorrow, and come up with a plan on the type of programming that they're willing to continue. Look, people who know me that I'm close to the pool community, and they also know how much I believe in it as being really a cornerstone in our community, particularly on the West Island. I know the value it has. Some of those kids that start, like my daughter, at 3, 4, 5 years old, eventually become the lifeguards. Relationships are formed, families, friend families, you know all that. I don't have to tell you. And the people that are in here that are in the pool environment also know all that. So all I'm trying to say is nobody has closed that door. All we're doing, and I always use this example, and I used it when I was in Dollard back then as a director. I used to say, the soccer fields, right? We cut the grass, we paint the lines, we turn on the lights, we buy the nets, we fix the posts, we dig the hole or not, we fix the benches, we put the water fountain, and we tell the association, here you go, run your program. This isn't much different here. We're saying all the operational stuff, we have it under control. You guys, if you're interested, because that's your expertise, is come to us as an association and say, well, we want to offer the synchro, the whatever, the swimming competition, the NAA events, all of the above. And we're open to all of that. So nobody has said anything otherwise. And that's the information that we've given the associations as well. Not one time, but numerous times, because I've also been present at those meetings. So it's a bit disheartening when I read some stuff on social media and people are sort of almost jumping the gun and assuming maybe something that isn't. What I'm hopeful for is that the association, first of all, gets the members it needs, because apparently there's a shortage of executives, from what I understand. And if they do that, then hopefully they come back and run this programming like we've been used to all along, and not have the worries of, is the machine working properly? Is the pump working properly? Is all that stuff happening for us to be able to provide our program? So I look at it as a positive initiative here. I really do. Sorry to go on about the answer, but it's important that I clarify the facts after reading some of the things that I've read, which I don't normally, but
I appreciate the details. In terms of the pool time, the frequency, duration of the aquatic programming, would the intention be that we keep the same format, or at least the same time, the same availability?
Unfortunately, I can't tell you that exactly right now. What I'm hopeful for is that the services will reach out to the association as of tomorrow, and they'll start looking at all of that. Okay, we've stipulated in the appel d'offres, in the tendering process, we've stipulated not only hours, but we've also stipulated that they prioritize our lifeguards. So again, I'm reading stuff and it's like, wait a second, can we wait? Can we not go for the facts? And the facts are that for us, for me as a mayor and as a community guy, it is vital that we keep the lifeguards, the ones that have the qualifications particularly, that have contributed to that community for probably years from a young age, to continue that That is my intention. Hopefully that'll be the goal. So we made sure that in the tendering process, we made sure that it was written so that any company that did get it would have no other option but to prioritize those young people more than anybody else to begin with. So that's another thing that I wanted to make clear, because I know somebody reached out to me and Monsieur Langevin, and I spoke to him over the phone, and I wanted to put him at ease, because there's, you know, it's not misinformation, it's an emotional thing, I understand, I really do. And so we're just trying to set the record straight here.
Okay. And has this been put in the contract, in fact, with Vivaction, to ensure that, you know, if the association comes back and wants to run these programs, they will, you know, have the time, the leeway to do so?
Well, like I said, I can't get into the details of it. What I do know is that we've made sure that there is room for the association to go in and offer these things, for sure. For sure. It would be disrespectful for me to tell you otherwise. And when we did the tendering process, we made sure that these things were well identified. I just don't have it with me to be able to tell you exactly that information. Si, Monsieur Jacob, vous avez plus d'informations, parfait. Sinon, c'est sûr que les services ils vont communiquer avec les piscines dès demain pour discuter les détails. Sorry? Cette semaine. Perfect. So at least this way everybody is on the same page and everyone can share the same information. But I'm not telling you anything off the cuff here. I'm telling you things that I've heard, that I've attended meetings and heard and said. So I'm trying to be as factual as I can, respectfully, okay?
Well, I mean, I do hope that you come to an agreement with the association. Should there not be an agreement, would there be a possibility that it's opened up to perhaps other volunteers that want to come in and do something?
You know what I always say to my staff and members of council and to myself? I can't go to step 2 and 3 if I don't do step 1. So let's go to step 1 first. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Know one thing, that there is a willingness on our part to make this work. So whatever that means, let's take it to step 1 first. Actually, this is step 1. Step 2 is the contact with the organizations to see, first of all, if they're willing to do it. One has told us they're not willing to do it. So Versailles told us they're not willing to do it. And that's okay, because we're still going to reach out to them, and hopefully they're going to have, you know, a change of decision at that point. You know, Versailles is a smaller pool too. They're almost limited in types of activities that they can hold as well. You know, certainly. But we're going to reach out to both, and that's clear. That's only normal that we do that. But we can't, during the tendering process, do this. We have to wait until the tender process is completed and a decision is passed by council before we can go back to talk to the associations, because that process has gone through already. And nothing is finalized until tonight anyways, whether it's on paper as a resolution or not.
Right. I mean,
Until that moment.
Mrs. Chenard, I'm going to have to, because we're limited to 2 questions and we have a lot of people in the room.
But let's, you know what, you'll get more clarity, I'm sure. Do you sit on the board, actually?
I don't, no.
Okay, so maybe, and again, I say this respectfully, if there is room on the board and you seem concerned enough, I hear it in you, that maybe if there's an opportunity for you to get involved in the board at that time, and you can, because it's all capacity of people, right, if they have the time to do it, I understand. If there is an opportunity for you, then I would encourage you and others to get involved at the board level, because it seems to be, in many associations, always the same people that get involved, and sometimes they get tired.
No,
It's normal.
understood, yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Happy to look
Thank
into
you.
it. Thank you.
for the questions. Madame Cloutier.
Merci. Alors, la deuxième personne appelée au micro est Madame Vanessa Vanicola.
Good evening.
Good evening. My question was actually, I think, maybe answered, or not necessarily answered, but spoken to, so I don't know if I should just sort of read it.
Yes, of course.
Just to bring it home. But I say, we've heard that your plan for Valley Crest is to eliminate all aquatic programming, keeping only free swim. How will you ensure that our children, your future professional and competitive athletes, don't lose access to this very important part of their development, athletically and socially? Our children look forward to this summer aquatic programming. These programs encourage our children to excel in sport. They look forward to becoming lifeguards and coaches and active members of their community. How can you promise us today that these aquatic programs will stay?
Thank you for the question. First of all, it has never and will never be, or ever be, our intention to stop any program. It's not within our capacity. Our capacity is to manage viable services in our community. The programming, as I mentioned earlier, is offered by the association.
Right.
We have left that open for them to be able to do that. It's up to them. We cannot offer the NAA programs and the competitive programming that comes along with any aquatic service. It's the association that does that. So if the association, when we talked this week, and we've spoken for months, by the way, it's not now that this is anything new here. You may not hear it because you're not involved in that. But this is months this has been going on. So if the association this week comes to some arrangement amongst themselves that they are able to mobilize the people to do that, by all means, not only are we in, but we're all in, because it's absolutely necessary. I mentioned it at the beginning. I was disappointed that the pools didn't even go for the tender, because that's what we would have chosen. That's what we would have wanted.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
My understanding was that Valley Crest did bid, and that they overbid, and then they decided to drop their bid, and they were still not chosen and selected.
No, a tendering process, you have to understand, we're legally bound as a municipal entity to go through a tendering process, a formal tendering process. The documents have to be responded and submitted to the city. It can't just be a phone call, oh, by the way, we'll do it for this much.
Okay.
It can't be that. I'm sorry, but it can't be. Respectfully to the folks that if they did that, respectfully.
Okay.
It has to be a formal document that's legally binding, that not only protects the city, it protects the association or the entity that's bidding, but also will ultimately protect the user, the citizen. And that process, I'm sorry, was not done.
Okay.
And
Is
so
it
what
too
we're-
late for them to do it? Sorry
Now?
to interrupt.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course, yeah. Because the tender, another legal requirement is that you post it for a number of days, and it has to be by that date. You can't, because then it's almost like you pick and choose, right? So, having said that, my goal, if I was an association, my primary goal would be to provide programming for the public. It's not to manage the pump. It's not. It's like, I give the example of soccer. It's not all those things. It could be, but it's not. Especially for a municipal facility that our taxpayers have paid, myself, all of us included, have paid millions to put into place with state-of-the-art facilities. We don't need to burden the volunteers and the associations with all of that when they should be focused 100% on programming. So it's almost like we're alleviating a lot of that pressure for the group by saying, look, here's your opportunity now to provide all those programs that my daughter as well, all of us, have gone through that, parents that have kids in the aquatic world, have to live with. And so that's the opportunity, is what I see hopefully evolving as we move forward in the next few days.
Okay. I mean, I can't imagine Valley Crest won't want to provide that program, but if they don't, no one else will do it, I guess, is basically.
And I mentioned it to the other lady here, Madame Chenard.
Yeah.
If you are involved in your pool, all of us probably have been involved in some sphere of volunteer society. If you are concerned to the point that you want this to continue, and let's say somebody doesn't, well, maybe it's an opportunity for some folks to get involved at that level to help out the association. Because as I mentioned, the volunteer force is extremely tired. And some of these people have been there for a long, long time. And especially if they don't have kids in it anymore, some of them, they've done their time. And so they need some refreshing there at that level. And so if you're interested, I think that conversation should be had with the members of your board now. And if there's an opportunity, get involved, because I think that's what's going to work. I really do.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you for the question. And we're very hopeful that this works out, I have to say.
Merci beaucoup.
Madame Cloutier.
Alors, j'appellerai au microphone Madame Véronica Crespo, s'il vous plaît. Et on va changer de registre de questions.
C'est bon.
Okay. So, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Veronica Crespo. I'm a resident of Pierrefonds near Snowbrook train station. And my question is the following. As the council may be aware, and as reported just this past Friday in La Presse, on April 28th, the CMM will be voting on an interim control regulation, which, if passed and then accepted by the Quebec provincial government, will lead to a freeze on development in natural areas across the CMM. In light of threats from increasing development in recent years across Montreal, such as, in example, the recently proposed project by Cadillac Fairview, which Cadillac Fairview is proposing right beside and possibly even on the unique forest that is Fairview Forest, which will also, of course, certainly, given the size of the project, will certainly also affect the residents of Pierrefonds. Does the council support this project? Furthermore, does it commit to doing what is possible to ensure the max amount of spaces are protected in light of our borough's goal of greening and increasing biodiversity? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As you know, the CMM, the borough has no jurisdiction on decisions made by the CMM. Do we support their initiatives to protect wetlands and green space? By all means. Okay. We've done that historically in our borough when we've ever found particularly land that's adjacent to the waterfront. We've made sure that we've represented our borough well at the City of Montreal to acquire lands. We've done this successfully. And we will continue to do that. We know that we are probably one of the greenest communities on the island of Montreal. We're fortunate enough to have 4 nature parks on top of the over 70 or so green spaces and parks. We're proud to say that we have a canopy project that allows us to plant hundreds of trees a year, not only on public property, but private property. Anytime we have an opportunity to purchase land, we do it, whether it's internally or through the help of the programs offered by the City of Montreal. Pierrefonds West, as you know, the administration in Montreal decided that they would conserve a large portion of that. One thing is true, and this is really a fact. It's not the entire Pierrefonds West that has been salvaged. It's a large portion of it. 3 properties within Pierrefonds West are still owned by private contractor. We're hopeful that that land can be acquired as well, but that's the ultimate goal. I've always said, you know, there's responsible development. However, anytime you're able to save a patch of land to keep it in its natural state is a good day for any community. Whether you agree with it or not, it is a good day. And that opportunity was put forward by the City of Montreal at that time, and they were able to acquire a large portion of that land, which is a good thing. At the end of the day, I mean, nobody's going to challenge that. So we stand by the decisions that are taken by the CMM when it comes to conservation. Even if we didn't, we wouldn't have a say in it anyways. So, but look, these are good moments for any community, and if we look at Montreal preserving, 10 to 15% of green space, then that's the goal. And if we need to do that from time to time, as we do at the borough, then we're going to contribute in any way that we can. Like we did and like we're trying to do, for example, on that patch of land at the corner of, it's not a large property, but it's still a biodiverse area that needs to be preserved, you know, at the corner of Anselme-Lavigne and Richmond, which is something that was slated to be built, and we felt as a council that, first of all, the project didn't fit within that framework of a residential area, but also it sat on an area, whether it be a natural space or a overgrown area with a lot of brush, maybe trees that aren't of that much value, it still creates a small ecosystem for what's there. Not to mention a learning environment for the school and the kids that go and visit it on a regular basis. However, it is still private at this moment, and we have to be very careful. And if that area is to be purchased or bought by the City of Montreal, then that representation has to take place, and we do this actively, and hopefully we are able to save more land in that way.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your answer. And also in passing, I did go to the Cadillac Fairview. They did give a presentation regarding their that behemoth of a project that they want to build right beside Fairview. I am concerned, even if it's not being built in Pierrefonds. I mean, it's going to transform the West Island, and I find it kind of concerning about, like, I'm
Look,
worried what the
I
effect will be
followed a
on
little
them.
bit of that. I try not to get involved in other in other jurisdictions. I try not to.
Yeah.
I know the mayor of Point Claire now. I've gotten to know him.
Oh, good.
And I know all of them on the West Island, and they do what they can. I know that when you have a private property like this, we do it in Pierrefonds. The best thing that you can do is the first step of what they did last week when they had at least the consultation that allowed for about 200 folks, and I know because I had people there that I know that told me about it. So that's the first step, is public participation. And we do this, and I talked about it about St. Charles in my opening statements.
In terms of the thing last week, I mean, it was just a presentation by Cadillac
okay.
Fairview. It wasn't a consultation in the
But at least it
slightest.
allows for folks to understand it first.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
Yeah.
after that, whatever they decide and whatever course they take after that, at least they have all the information. And this is what I'm doing with the pool, too. Whatever the outcome is at the end, my role is to give you the facts. And then after that, the citizens, and we do this through consultations. We were one of the first boroughs that did public consultation meetings for urban planning because it was important to us. And we may not always agree on some of the issues that we're elected to decide.
Of course.
But at least the public participation is there.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your
Okay.
question, ma'am.
Well, thank you. Have a very
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, nous allons prendre une autre question de M. Éric Piton. Je vous demanderai de faire vos questions les plus concises possibles afin qu'on puisse respecter aussi là, le temps qui nous est alloué pour la période de questions. Merci.
On dirait que je suis connu.
Bonsoir, M. Piton.
Python.
Python.
Oui,
My apologies.
pas de problème. Mais
Ça me
Fran-
fait plaisir de vous
Peut-
voir en personne.
Ben, c'est ce que j'étais
Enfin.
pour dire. N'est-il pas
Enfin.
merveilleux qu'on puisse se
Enfin.
voir?
Ben, on ne sait pas si ça va durer, hein? Avec la 6e
De se
vague,
voir,
on ne
ou-
sait pas. On espère, mais on ne sait jamais.
OK. Non, c'est ça, comme ça, je voulais dire, c'est pas merveilleux de se voir enfin,
Oui.
de pouvoir s'exprimer en personne. La question que j'avais comme préambule que je me demandais, c'est quand est-ce qu'on pourrait se parler à propos du programme particulier d'urbanisme. Une réponse partielle, en tout cas un début de réponse tantôt, qui nous laisse un peu sur l'appétit. Là. C'est un peu mince pour le moment. C'est sûr qu'après 10 mois de toutes sortes de choses, on veut avoir un peu plus de viande. Donc, c'est ça. Depuis 10 mois, c'est un peu difficile d'avoir de l'information sur tout ce qui est les projets de construction. Ça se passe à coup de demandes d'accès aux documents, à coup de questions au Conseil, des questions courtes, comme d'habitude. Et au dernier Conseil, vous nous suggériez de prendre contact avec le chef de projet.
Oui.
Ce qu'on a fait, ça a été décliné de nous rencontrer. Vous nous avez aussi proposé de contacter les élus, ce qui a été fait. Et là, on nous a dit que ce serait avec plaisir quand on sera convoqué par le chef de projet. Donc, ça ne nous amène pas plus loin. La politique de participation qui avait été adoptée au mois de janvier, qui a été publiée au mois de mars, je ne sais pas si ça avait un rapport avec le fait que j'ai posé 2 questions là-dessus, puis que j'ai parlé au chef de service, puis que j'avais fait une demande au greffe. La politique a des beaux principes, mais elle suscite aussi des questions. Elle n'est pas nécessairement parfaite. Elle parle beaucoup de transparence, de dialogue. C'est ce qu'on voudrait voir. C'est peut-être une première étape qu'on va avoir au mois de mai. Donc, ma question, si on veut, qui est un peu défaite par votre annonce, mais qui va toujours dans le même sens, est-ce qu'on peut avoir un plan de consultation précis, détaillé? Par exemple, en termes d'information, est-ce que l'information va seulement concerner le diagnostic ou il y aura de l'information aussi sur les objectifs, les orientations, le concept, le plan d'action, qui est la vision beaucoup plus globale du PPU, tout dépendant de l'étape à laquelle la consultation a lieu. Si elle a lieu après le diagnostic, c'est comme malaisant. On n'est pas rendu à l'étape des propositions, des choses. Donc, on est un peu comme en milieu de processus, si je comprends bien. Les présentations sur les TOD, densification, tout ça, bon, c'est bien. Est-ce qu'il y aura un plan de communication précis pour, comme la politique dit, atteindre le plus grand nombre de personnes possible? Les gens, les personnes intéressées dans les zones, mitoyennes aux zones, proches des zones, impactés par le
Tout le monde,
PPU?
tout le
Seront-ils...
Tout le monde.
Y aura-t-il justement un plan de communication?
Ben oui.
Parce que la politique dit que c'est vraiment un avis public, puis ça semble un peu mince encore là par rapport au
Mais
PPU.
regardez, M. Payton, je vais vous répondre à la pièce parce que vous avez dit beaucoup dans le préambule. Le but ultime, comme j'ai mentionné plusieurs fois, parce que vous savez qu'on pouvait aller de l'avant avec ce projet. On pouvait. Comme conseil, on pouvait décider d'aller de l'avant, peu importe la consultation, puis le résultat à la fin. On pouvait respecter au moins la proposition du promoteur et aller de l'avant, comme ils font d'ailleurs dans d'autres villes arrondissements. On a décidé de ne pas le faire parce que, encore là, on va construire à la pièce sur cette rue-là une artère principale, REM à proximité, éventuel transport en commun adapté sur Saint-Charles, piste cyclable, etc. Puis là, on avait dit, au lieu de faire ça à la pièce, oui, on a attendu haut et fort les citoyens, puis on avait conclu qu'il fallait surtout commencer avec une présentation, quelque chose qu'on fait le 17 mai. Peut-être ce n'est pas assez d'informations pour vous ce soir, et je m'excuse, mais au moins c'est un début. Là, à cette présentation-là, on va vous expliquer comme il faut c'est quoi le processus à venir et la consultation publique planifiée pour les semaines, parce que ça va prendre des semaines. On veut s'assurer qu'on fait ça correctement et d'impliquer le plus de personnes possible. Et comment on va impliquer les gens? Bien sûr, avec les communications. Et ce n'est pas nécessairement juste un avis public qui concerne les résidents qui restent juste à côté. Nous, on veut encourager la population at large de participer à cet événement-là et ces événements-là de consultation. Pourquoi? Parce que ça peut devenir un modèle pour d'autres artères ailleurs. Oui, on est élu pour prendre des décisions, mais ça prend absolument, peut-être pas à 100 %, parce qu'il y a des choses qu'on décide qui sont quand même administratives, qui sont beaucoup plus faciles, qui ne touchent pas nécessairement la vie quotidienne des gens. Mais ça, et l'éventuel développement de Saint-Charles, whatever it is, va affecter la qualité de vie de plusieurs. Même les gens qui traversent par Saint-Charles pour aller chercher la 40, le REM, etc. Oui, on veut faire ça correctement. Et comme j'ai dit, le but pour nous, pour moi, c'est d'encourager les gens de participer. Sinon, on pouvait à l'époque approuver ou donner l'appui au projet, puis on verra qu'est-ce qui va arriver. On pouvait dire à ce moment-là. Mais on ne l'a pas dit parce qu'on a bien entendu les citoyens. Puis même nous, on a pensé, si moi je restais à côté de ce bâtiment-là, what would I say? Et à chaque fois qu'on analyse un projet, on se pose cette question. Si c'était moi, si mon voisin était sur le micro qui posait la même question, what would we do? C'est une réflexion qu'il faut faire, absolument. Et là, j'espère avec la présentation, parce que moi aussi, je veux voir exactement c'est quoi qui est présenté, je vais savoir à l'avance, c'est sûr. Mais on veut informer les gens, numéro un, mais l'autre, c'est les encourager, donner le goût de participer à un processus où ils pensent qu'ils vont être capables de faire la différence. Ce n'est pas juste smoke and mirrors, like we say. Le but, c'est la participation citoyenne avec un résultat à la fin, suite à ça. Sur les 10 commentaires qu'on va recevoir des citoyens, peut-être on va retenir 5, 6, 7, 8, on ne sait pas. Mais ça prend la participation. Souvent, quand on a des consultations ici avec l'aménagement urbain, le CCU, on n'a pas beaucoup de monde dans la salle. Puis je sais qu'on n'a pas. M. Langevin préside maintenant. Puis on essaye d'encourager les gens de participer. C'est pour ça que je suis content de voir les gens ici aujourd'hui. Parce que c'est ça que ça prend. Des fois, on a 5 résidents seulement. Est-ce que ça veut dire que les gens ne sont pas intéressés ou est-ce que ça veut dire que tout va bien? Je ne suis pas convaincu. Je pense que ça va bien, mais on ne sait jamais. Mais avec les COM, avec Mme Cloutier et son équipe, je sais qu'elle fait un travail extraordinaire aussi pour informer les gens. Est-ce que c'est parfait? C'est jamais parfait. Mais rien n'est parfait. mais elle fait beaucoup là, pour encourager les gens de participer. C'est ça qu'on va faire et j'espère qu'on va répondre à vos questions. Vous avez aussi, juste pour terminer, vous avez mentionné que vous avez communiqué avec les services pour avoir plus d'informations. Et vous avez communiqué aussi avec certains élus peut-être pour avoir des informations ou des rencontres. Il faut comprendre aussi qu'on ne peut pas vous rencontrer pour un dossier qui est en vigueur, qui va être présenté au public une date ultérieure, comme c'est prévu pour le 17 mai. Imaginez si je rencontrais vous et d'autres pour le même projet, puis vous étiez au courant de la présentation avant que le reste de la population sera prise dans une situation quand même délicate.
Monsieur le maire, je vais devoir intervenir. On a passé la période de questions de 30 minutes, alors je vais avoir besoin
Je peux avoir un proposeur appuyeur pour prolonger de 15 minutes. Monsieur Langevin, Madame Talbot.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci. J'espère que j'ai répondu peut-être en partie.
Non, mais j'aime beaucoup ce que j'entends. Là. Puis c'est ça l'idée de se parler, puis d'être en personne.
Effectivement.
Puis c'est ce qu'on recherchait comme citoyen aussi. C'était pas d'avoir de l'information privilégiée. C'était pas d'influencer, de dire le résultat final sera bon seulement si c'est ce que je veux. C'est pas du tout ça l'idée. Mais c'est de s'assurer justement, puis c'est ça notre préoccupation fondamentale, que c'est bien communiqué, d'une manière bien diffusée, puis en ligne tout à fait avec ce que vous dites, avec ce que la politique dit, mais ce qu'on n'a pas vu depuis 10 mois. De dire que c'est bien diffusé, puis tout le monde qui a à dire quelque chose dit quelque chose, et la notion d'interaction aussi, parce que là, dans le cas d'un PPU, dans la politique, il faut qu'il y ait une participation active. Puis on a pris connaissance de la plateforme Cocorico, je ne sais pas si c'est la même qu'on songe utiliser, puis on trouvait ça super intéressant de faire une espèce de sondage en ligne, mais en même temps, ça ne pourra pas remplacer une consultation en personne, avec des interactions comme on peut avoir maintenant, puis tout ça. Et le contexte, oui, derrière tout ça aussi, le contexte de toute cette démarche de consultation-là, d'information, de participation, c'est le contexte de savoir de quoi parle-t-on. Est-ce qu'on parle d'un boulevard qu'on essaye comme de réembellir, de revitaliser, ou qu'on essaye de monter à 2 étages ou à 4 étages, comme les projets.
Monsieur Paton, c'est de A à Z. C'est de A à Z. C'est de A à Z. Ce n'est pas juste la plantation des arbres là, qui va régler la situation de Saint-Charles.
C'est ça. Mais dans toute cette communication-là, l'information, la consultation, c'est de savoir un peu de quoi on parle. Oui. C'est-tu un boulevard qui va être à 10 étages maintenant avec des appartements partout? Ça va être important aussi de préciser un peu.
C'est exactement ça qu'on va vous présenter le 17 mai, mais je compte sur vous, pas juste pour votre participation, mais d'encourager vos voisins et vos proches de participer en même temps, s'il vous plaît. On compte sur vous.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup, M. Payton. Puis je m'excuse de mal prononcer votre nom auparavant. C'est comme moi, c'est base, c'est jamais bis, c'est base, je dis aux gens.
Alors, j'appellerai au microphone M. Gerald Wood. Et si possible, là, tentez d'être très concis dans vos questions pour permettre d'avoir d'autres résidents aussi. Là. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mr. Mayor and council members.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. Much like the last gentleman, I'm very interested in the Upper St. Charles. I'm just wondering why, if you want to include the citizens to basically help you work on this, how come you don't deal with, or ask or work with the citizens beforehand to determine what their wishes and outcomes that they would like to see would be? So that would be the first thing. The second thing I'd like to mention is that we're very concerned about the traffic situation on St. Charles. The road is saturated at this point, and any addition is going to present major problems. So that's a major concern of ours. Secondly, I wanted to know if there are any predetermined outcomes that I think this is part of the last gentleman's question, that you're looking for. Example, I'm seeing on the news 20-story buildings being pushed. Has the city got any of these predetermined policies or issues that they want to push through?
3 questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Wood, for taking the time to ask them. Number 1, we need an initial vision from a firm that specializes in redevelopment of any particular area, particularly an artery. It's a concept that we will be presented, that you will be presented, and from that, we will hear the citizens voice their opinions and concerns on what is presented, okay? It has to start there. It doesn't mean that the concept will be retained by us. It just means that we have to have a starting spot. And that is the way we've done it always, and this is the way it's the same thing like some of the major projects that you see us accepting at council tonight. If I had an open lot and I asked 5 citizens what they see in that open lot, if it's a private lot, for example, you're going to get 5 different opinions. So what we do is we start with the initial proposal by the developer, for example, for a single-family home that you see on a street in a vacant lot, 2-story design and all that. Then, if we agree with the concept, then that goes through the process of the consultation period where the citizens are invited to voice their opinion, and I know that some in this room may already do that. I know that Mr. Langevin presides that now, and he sees that some of the comments make sense, if not all sometimes. Doesn't mean because you have a concept that that's what it is. It just means that you have to at least consider it.
Now, when you say concept, what do you mean by that? You're talking like building like a Mont Tremblant kind of facility or that sort of thing?
It could be the continuity of what's developed on St. Charles, whereas now you see nothing matches. Everything is different, right? And so it could be that, for example, the strip mall down the way where the dollar store is, let's just say, for example. Again, for example, because I know nothing about it.
No, good.
But let's say that building is ever sold, right? And then the person, the developer or the business or company that buys it wants to redevelop it. Certainly they're going to speculate what's available on that property, and then they'll develop it accordingly, and then they'll come to the city and ask for whatever permits they would want. If we know in advance as a community that on that plot of land, for example, we would have, again, examples, institutional use, I don't know, 2-story building, it can't have more than X number of housing projects, whatever the criteria is. If we know that in advance, then certainly when a promoter is speculating a particular area, they'll know that that's the only thing they can put there. And that will be decided not only by us, but it'll be a collective effort with the community, knowing full well that the people that live there particularly have voiced their concern in that area, and that's what they see being built there. Will it always be the case? No, because there are some things that we may decide as we go forward to know that maybe, and by providing the expertise through these consultation process, maybe something that you thought may change your mind once we hear the experts speak about it. So that's really the process. I would really request that you and others that are concerned about this file to keep an open spirit, please. Because I think that the participation of this, the first presentation, is going to enlighten a lot of us on what is the vision. And then after that, then we could look at, for example, how the participation in the consultation process with the citizens will be. You mentioned the traffic. We know traffic is an issue everywhere. To the point, I'm not going to rehash it, but I will. The urban boulevard was supposed to help us. I'm not being political in any way when I say that. But the urban boulevard, we've been fighting on the West Island as a community for 30 years, more than that. Scratched off the list with a pen. When we know full well that it wasn't necessarily for cars, it was to alleviate some of the traffic, but also encourage people to use public transit. And that's off the table now. We're looking at other scenarios. We're looking at the possibility of Jacques Bizard. That is problematic for us because Jacques Bizard on the Pierrefonds stretch is a highly residential area. That how do I go to those people now and explain to them that now you're an artery? Because nobody's thought it any further than that. So that's one thing with the traffic. Bus lanes. We want to encourage people to take public transit. When we decided, when I had proposed back in the day, saying sources to have a bus lane, we had petitions from the residents saying it was going to create more traffic. Well, I said, well, the people that are taking the bus are also our taxpayers. So we need to have a balance. But then I get to a small portion of Dollard, and they don't want the bus lane there. I'm ready to do it in Pierrefonds on St. Charles to encourage people to take public transit to eventually use the REM. But Kirkland, for their reasons, and justified because they just have a backlog too, doesn't want to continue the bus lane on St. Charles. and then you get to Beaconsfield, and then you get further up. It's the same scenario. So mobility has to have a collective effort on the West Island, and everybody has to be on the same page. And I have to thank my colleague, Mayor Alex Potaushi, because we've already started talking about some common issues in terms of mobility.
But, sorry, excuse me, but it sounds like you're going to have to herd cats.
Why?
Well, getting all of these people together, you haven't been able to do it in the last 30 years. Why is all of a sudden it's going to happen now?
Because you're waiting in traffic for 40 minutes to get to the 40. So somebody's going to have
Been
to
waiting for a long time. But
I know, but somebody's going to have to understand. And like when I told you about I have an open spirit. I truly believe that if you keep asking enough, you're going to get it. The flood situation is the same thing. When I submitted the motion in Montreal, for years I've been barking, being the boy who cries wolf. Finally, Montreal got it. Sometimes we have to do that. And I agree with you. It may never happen. But at least we have the collaboration now, and we're all at least around the table talking, which is a good thing. And with the REM coming, I think it's going to change that file quite a bit, because there's going to be a demand for people to take the train. And if you can't get to it, quickly enough, then you're going to have a problem. And the last thing you mentioned, I'm sorry, just to...
the last thing was... I'm sorry?
No, the predetermined outcome. There's no predetermined outcome. The slate is there. The slate is clear, and yes, there'll be a vision, as I mentioned to you, but collectively, I think we can work with something that will make sense. And I have faith in the people that have been already engaged in this file, that they will be involved, and you and others in the room that are concerned with this will also bring your fellow residents to be a part of it. And collectively, I think we can get it right, because for decades before that, they developed piecemeal on the West Island. I've been here since 1970, and like many of us. And I know how it was developed up here. A little patch of land, they built something. Another patch of land, they built something. No one had a common vision. Like
we see it everywhere.
Like we have the capacity today to do. Today, we have the experts everywhere that can help us and guide us. And St. Charles is one. Around the train stations is another one that we need to look at as well, to create the transport-oriented developments. So, yes, we're very concerned with it, as you are, but we're also patient because we need to get it right.
Well, we're willing to work with you, and we want to work with you, and so
That's the plan, Mr. Wood, and I appreciate it.
We're looking forward to hearing from you to pull us in.
Thank you. Thank you. Madame Cloutier.
Yes, I'm going to call Martha Bond to the microphone. We have 5 minutes left to this question period. And after that, we're going to have to do the ordre du jour, public agenda, and we're going to present a motion to continue the public question period afterwards. Thank you. Merci.
Hi.
Good evening, Mrs.
Can everyone
Bond.
hear me?
Loud and clear.
That's important, and I have a good voice.
So do I.
To be well heard. And
Go
the
ahead,
microphone is working great. And everyone looks good?
Yes.
You trimmed your beard a bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bond. Did you move, by the way? Because I noticed that one of the meetings you had said that you lived on Pavilion.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm asking, because I wasn't sure. I said, my God, she sold that beautiful house.
Yeah, not there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll stick to the questions, more or less was entered nicely by Clara here, who I've not met before tonight, but exchanged emails with. And it's right up there because it's relevant. The demolition, the UPAC committee and public consultation, and that's what we're talking about. And I just want to add a little bit that this PPU is an option, because of course all of this could have gone through the in-house committee, right, and the staff, as has been done in the past.
I don't know how far in the past you're going, but...
Well, I've been coming for 18 years, yeah, in addition to other council meetings in other boroughs and cities. Yeah.
That's good.
So it was a choice that the borough made. And I don't think that was clear. So anyway, concerning the public consultation in our Urban Planning Advisory Committee meeting, which is a bylaw and a very important part of consulting with residents and having members who are residents and citizens, you and the council, after your election, decided to no longer have public meetings with the exception of demolition requests, which is a very tiny type of public consultation in terms of numbers, because the restriction on demolition is the building has to be, according to our bylaw, 1940 or older, and it cannot be a commercial building, and there's quite a few other limitations. So that doesn't come up all the time. Anyway, you mentioned there will be these public meetings for the demolition, and I've sent emails about it and asked the same question last month, virtually. But the, as I said, the demolition requests are not decided by the citizens through a registered referendum procedure. This is uniquely the borough's right, unless it's a protected building.
What's your question, Mrs. Bond?
So, once again, will the council, you and the council, reverse their decision taken without public consultation to no longer hold future public UPAC meetings?
The Planning Advisory Committee, Mrs. Bond, as you know, is always held in public, and we follow all the procedures and guidelines outlined by the law. And that is done and prescribed in all boroughs. It's the same procedure. If you'd like to change anything or request for something to be changed, as I hear you this evening, Monsieur Jacob, avez-vous quelqu'un en ligne qui peut répondre à cette question à Madame Bond? Sinon, on va communiquer avec elle dans les jours à suivre. Monsieur Stéphane Quesnel, vous êtes en ligne?
Oui, bonjour. Hi, Mrs. Bond.
Hi.
Yes, you have to keep in mind that we're following the lines of the government. The government stipulates that the borough, I'm just going to lower down my. So keep in mind that the borough is following the guidelines as prescribed in the provincial law. And you have to keep in mind that not only the citizens have rights, but also the people that are asking for demolition. So it's risky for a borough. Actually, it's not possible for the borough to address in terms of a referendum or a public opinion for opposition to a demolition process. The provincial law is very clear about that. There's a planning advisory committee that takes a decision, and if you wish to contest the decision, you can always appeal, and it's up to the council to decide. Now, it's up to the council whether or not they will maintain the decision, but what I can say is that in the past, all decisions made by the planning advisory committee, which were reviewed by the council, were made following the law, and we cannot deviate from that process. It's set in. There's no possibilities.
Merci, Monsieur Quesnel. Mrs. Bond, your next question, please. Your second question.
And we can follow that question up maybe next month, too, when I get some more information. Why not continue to answer questions submitted by the public who may not be able to attend public borough council meetings, as we've been doing for 2 years? Also, the time limit for questions submitted by email, mail dropped at the borough hall, mail slot, should be extended to at least 5 p.m. or midnight on the Friday before the Monday meeting, or preferably 5 p.m. on the Monday of the meeting.
Thank you for the question, Mrs. Bond. Your last question, and that is actually the reason why we're here tonight, to bring this back to what we've been doing historically at every council meeting. Do we do a hybrid type version where we have the virtual along with the public sitting? That isn't something that we are considering, to be honest, because we're back to our in-person council meetings, and we want to encourage people to come to these meetings as they've always done historically here in Pierrefonds-Roxboro, as long as I've been here and even before me. And you also have to understand that we're in a transitional phase here in terms of post-pandemic in-person council meetings. So certainly will that be in the thought process as we move forward? I can't tell you. But right now, we're just thankful that we're back here in person, and allows for people to come and ask questions like they've always done, like you've always done and others. And we want to encourage that public participation, where sometimes it isn't always efficient enough to be able to do that virtually where you get a generic answer, and here at least we can have a little bit of dialogue where I think was missed for the last number of years. So right now it isn't in our thought process, but I can't speculate what will happen in the future is really my answer.
Well, it's in line with what Mr. Cannell said. First of all, you certainly could do it. There's no restrictions in the law, and in fact, public question periods are mandated by provincial law. Okay, you're not just having a little meeting because you think it's nice for citizens to come.
My answer, Mrs. Bond, is that we're not considering it at this moment, and we welcome you
Right,
to
but
spread the message for residents.
You're
Bond,
acting
I know,
like.
Mrs. Bond, I gave you my answer,
Okay.
and I'm telling you, you may not like the answer at the moment. Could this change in the future? I'm not sure. But right now, we're happy to be back in these council meetings with people in public, and we encourage people to participate at these council meetings as we've always done historically in the past. So I'm not sure what you want to change, but for me, this is what really is the foundation of who we are here at our council meetings, and this is what we welcome, and we wish that people would participate in this forum more than they would virtually, for example. But I take your comments and recommendations under advisement, Mrs. Bond, and we'll see how this evolves. Thank you.
And I had one
Mrs.
quick
Bond, I'm gonna have
question.
Questions. The time period
Okay.
for questions is
Respectfully,
over.
Yes, it's over. So we're going to have
Okay,
to move on to the public
so I'll send you
agenda.
an email. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Mrs. Bond.
much.
Thank you. Yes,
So
yes. After the reading of the agenda, at the end of it, then the folks that are left, I'm not sure how many are left on the list here. I have 1, 2, 3, 5. No, 4. 3. 3, sorry. I have 3 questions at the end, and we'll get to that after. After the reading of the yeah. OK. Ça nous amène à l'ordre du jour. On est rendu à 10:03, que soit adopté l'ordre du jour de la séance du Conseil d'arrondissement. Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. You know, folks, let me just say that the regulation that dictates how we do question period here is very clear. It's 30 minutes, which we surpassed, followed by 15 minutes, which we surpassed, and then any additional questions that may remain, which is maybe the case in other communities where they don't allow you to ask them. We say we have to get to our regular business as stipulated in regulations, and then we go to the end of that reading, and we allow for folks to stay, the ones that can, to ask their questions afterwards. So I just want to be clear and say that, folks.
Thank you very much for clarifying. We were told when we came in there was 1 question each, and then when we got here, it turned into 2 questions. So I think on your end, you need to maybe, that's what happened. I mean, we picked out.
Okay. I'll clarify. Thank you for bringing that up. And you know what the rule is? Something that we don't even do, because we believe that at least we allow for folks to express themselves in the way they want. You know how we do it in Montreal? And I've been around this for many decades of my life. And I can tell you, they give you an hour and a minute and a half to do your preamble, and then ask your question in under 2 minutes. 1 question. No discussion, no debate. Because that's the forum. No, I'm just trying to explain to you, and we're trying to be lenient, you know. And the other thing, too, I wanted to say is we are so accessible as a council, as services, that we are reachable virtually at any moment. Is it perfect? No, but we are. And so that has to be understood, too, that this is the opportunity to ask 2 questions. And if you were told 1 question, I apologize on our behalf. It's 2 questions, okay? 10:04. Que soit adopté le procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du Conseil d'arrondissement tenue le 7 mars 2022 à 19h.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Madame Leroux, Madame Talbot, merci. 12:01. Que le Conseil appuie un projet d'habitation pour personnes ayant besoin d'aide et d'assistance afin que ce dernier puisse bénéficier de l'aide financière du Fonds de co-investissement de la Stratégie nationale sur le logement.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Monsieur Langevin, Madame Talbot, merci. 1202. Que soit adopté le plan local de développement culturel de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro 2021 à 2026.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Madame Talbot, Madame Leroux. Madame Talbot, vous avez quelque chose à ajouter?
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire. Depuis la pandémie, il n'y avait plus de spectacles possibles à l'arrondissement. Et maintenant, il y a, et on revient avec les spectacles, et je vous encourage à aller à ces spectacles qui sont vraiment très, très bien. J'ai assisté moi-même, et pour la modique somme de 2 $ à un moment donné, et en d'autres occasions, c'était gratuit. Il y avait du blues le 19 mars. On arrange la salle en... It's like a little café type. So there's no possibility to eat. Of course, we have to keep our masks. There's limited people that can go in, but it was... unfortunately, I couldn't go. But on the 20th of March, on a Sunday, matinée, we had Myriam Leblanc with a cello and harpist, une très vieille harpe qui était une harpe de collection. Et Myriam Leblanc a chanté Vivaldi, une soprano. Le 26 mars, il y avait there was a grand piano and there was a Cuban pianist that was playing admirably, and there was a percussionniste qui avait gagné un Grammy dans les années 2000. Alors, écoutez, on était très gâtés. Et ensuite, le 27 mars, en après-midi, on Sunday afternoon, there was a count teller, une conteuse qui parlait des rires de sa grand-maman. And you could buy the CD in French and in English. So it was really nice to have your children, grandchildren there. Les petits-enfants étaient très impressionnés. Et dimanche dernier, un concert formidable de Schubert avec Fibonacci, et ils ont performé à la salle Bougie. Ils vont performer à la salle Bougie. Donc, je vous encourage, I do encourage you to benefit out of all those wonderful things that we have, of great quality, please. So this is what I wanted to say, and I thank the services to do, and to our blue collars to put the hall in a way that it is very nice. So j'aimerais vous voir. J'ai vu Madame Bond, qui était au dernier concert, qui a bien apprécié d'ailleurs. Ils font des rappels, des comebacks, so I'm amazed. And I think that you can have a very nice cultural life in Pierrefonds-Roxboro. Merci. Alors, vous pouvez avoir une vie culturelle très bien. Je ne parlerai pas de la bibliothèque, parce que j'en ai dit assez, Monsieur le maire. Merci.
Madame Talbot. Le message, c'est de participer à des événements culturels de l'arrondissement. Et dans cette politique, c'est un travail qui date depuis 2019. Et je remercie sincèrement les services de culture, loisirs, sport et développement social. Et on parle de cinq axes dans ce plan 2021-2026, qui est très important de le mentionner. C'est déployer une offre culturelle riche, accessible et pour un plus grand nombre, comme Mme Talbot a mentionné. Faciliter le contact avec la culture en misant sur nos nombreux parcs et nos lieux extérieurs. So we do this already by giving our facilities and making them available for all the cultural presentations that you are all welcome to participate in. Maximiser l'usage de nos infrastructures culturelles et la synergie entre elles, comme c'est normal. Favoriser le développement et partenariats solides et optimiser nos façons de faire et favoriser les transversalités internes. So here is a perfect example of culture really expanding within our borough, and the type of programs that you see, and I encourage you to all participate. They're free, and with the addition of our beautiful library has encouraged us and our teams to expand the cultural presentations in our community. Spread the richness not only of our community, but everything that we can do in it. 1501, que soit adoptée une résolution s'opposant à l'installation d'un tour de télécommunications sur le terrain de l'église Roxboro United, situé au 116 rue Cartier, dans l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Madame Leroux, Monsieur Langevin, merci. 1502, that be adopted a resolution against the installation of telecommunication tower on the land located at 19678 Gouin West in the borough of Pierrefonds-Roxboro.
I propose.
I concur.
Madame Talbot, Monsieur Tarakjan, merci. 2001, que soit octroyé un contrat ST 2108 à la firme Les Constructions H2D Inc. pour des terrains de réaménagement au parc du Millénaire dans l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro au montant de 2 345 971, taxes incluses, que soit autorisé une dépense totale de 2 697 866, taxes incluses, qui couvre le contrat de l'entrepreneur des contingences de 10 et ça me prend un proposeur et appuyeur.
I propose.
J'appuie.
Monsieur Langevin, Madame Talbot, merci. 2002. Que soit annulé le processus d'appel d'offres pour le projet SP 2021-14 pour les services professionnels en architecture et ingénierie pour le réaménagement du deuxième étage à l'entrée principale de la mairie de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro, puisque l'écart entre la seule soumission reçue et l'estimation interne se chiffre à 53,64 %.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
M. Tarakjan, Mme Leroux, merci. 2003, que soit annulé le processus d'appel d'offres pour le projet SP 2022-03 pour des services professionnels d'architecture et ingénierie relatifs à la rénovation et au réaménagement du centre culturel de Pierrefonds, puisque l'écart entre la seule soumission reçue de l'estimation interne s'achiffre à plus de 53,35 %.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Madame Talbot, Monsieur Tarakjan, merci. 2004, que soit annulé le processus d'appel d'offres pour le projet SP 2022-04 pour des services professionnels d'ingénierie pour la conception de plans et devis ainsi que la surveillance de réaménagement du boulevard Lalonde entre la rue Sarah Gay et le boulevard Gouin-Ouest sur le territoire de l'arrondissement Pierrefonds-Roxboro, puisqu'aucune soumission n'a été reçue.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Madame Leroux, Monsieur Langevin, merci. 2005. That be approved in partnership agreement with Versité in the amount of $27,938, taxes included for the patrol services and help implementation, the collection of organic waste in buildings of 9 units or more, the industries, the commercial establishments, institutions, and schools in the east sector of Pierrefonds-Roxboro from April 4th to December 31st, 2022, that be paid this contribution the rate of $9 per occupancy unit, as well as the lump sum of $6,000 for industries, businesses, institutions, and an additional lump sum for schools, up to a maximum of $27,928, paid by the Division Collecte, Transport et Traitement des matières résiduelles of the Service de l'Environnement for the awareness-raising services for the implementation and collection of organic matter in accordance with the financial information contained in the decision-making summary, that be authorized Madame Alice Ferrandon, Secretary of the Borough, to sign the corresponding partnership agreement. C'est le 2005.
I propose.
J'appuie.
Monsieur Langevin, Madame Talbot, merci. 2006, que soit acceptée l'offre de l'arrondissement de la Chine pour une durée d'1 an, en vertu de l'article 85,1.1 de la Charte de la Ville de Montréal, pour le prêt de services à mi-temps d'une ressource de développement économique, que soit approuvé le projet d'entente de partenariat à cet effet et qu'en soit autorisé la signature de Louis Tremblay, directeur du développement et de territoire et des études techniques, qu'un montant de 71 919 soit prélevé à même le budget de la Direction de développement de la territoire et des études techniques pour financer cette dépense. C'est le 2006.
I propose. J'appuie.
M. Tarakjan, M. Langevin, merci. 2007, que soit autorisé le versement d'une contribution financière non récurrente de 4 800 $ provenant du budget de fonctionnement 2022 au regroupement des écoquartiers afin de permettre l'embauche de 3 étudiants pour le projet Patrouille de sensibilisation environnementale, la Patrouille verte, dans l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro durant l'été 2022. C'est le 2007.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Monsieur Langevin, Madame Leroux,
Je
et
répète.
Monsieur Langevin, vous avez quelque chose à ajouter.
Juste rappeler que le 22 avril, c'est le jour de la Terre. Parler de ce programme est vraiment fait ses preuves dans les dernières années. Quand vous avez des questions relatives, par exemple, à de l'herbe à poux, vous êtes sur un terrain privé, vous ne savez pas trop comment contrôler la prolifération, bien, vous appelez la patrouille verte, puis ils vont vous donner des trucs qui font que finalement, bien, vous en débarrassez peut-être pas la première année parce que c'est vraiment difficile à contrôler. Mais ce genre d'activités qu'ils font, c'est un maillage de fonds qui se fait avec l'écoquartier. Vous avez juste à appeler l'écoquartier, puis vraiment, c'est un autre geste que l'arrondissement fait, plein de petits gestes comme celui-là, pour justement peut-être réduire nos gaz à effet de serre, parce qu'on va avoir des gens qui vont être sur le terrain à faire de la prévention puis de l'éducation citoyenne sur qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent faire comme petit changement dans leur quotidien pour rendre notre arrondissement plus vert. Avec ce qu'on a eu comme annonce ce matin, avec les 3 années selon le GIEC, qui nous restent pour justement limiter, plafonner nos gaz à effet de serre, pour éviter que finalement on ait une augmentation d'1,5 degré de plus. Je pense qu'il faut tous faire un petit geste et l'arrondissement cherche à trouver toutes sortes de façons qui peut, comme celui-là, faire en sorte qu'on contribue tous collectivement à stopper notre production de gaz à effet de serre. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur Langevin. 2008, que soient accordées des subventions totalisant une somme de 70 000 réparties comme suit 45 000 à l'organisme communautaire Action Jeunesse de l'Ouest de l'île afin de réaliser le projet Open Gym Pierrefonds dans le cadre du programme de prévention à la violence commise et subie chez les jeunes et 25 000 à l'organisme projet de prévention des toxicomanies Cumulis afin de réaliser le projet Prévention de milieu, que soient approuvés les projets de convention entre la Ville de Montréal et chacun des organismes établissant des modalités et conditions versant de ces subventions et que soit autorisée Mme Louise Ampini, chef de division culture, bibliothèque et développement social, à signer les conventions au nom de la Ville. 2008.
I propose, and I might have a small intervention.
J'appuie.
Monsieur Langevin, Mme Leroux, Monsieur Langevin.
We see those two organizations gets a couple grants from Montreal, some from the borough, and usually it's for different purposes. And in this case, this program that was initiated about 10 years ago, where we realized that a lot of our youth didn't have the parents to bring them to sports, to activities, evenings, and they wouldn't be able to access organized sports. Either because there's a fee to access it through an association. I see people from the pool, it's not free to be part of a team. And these organizations, what they do all year long is create those relationships with those youth that are just loitering, hanging out in parks and not necessarily going into these sports. And this is literally to open plateau sportif spaces, safe spaces where you have an outreach worker on site that will, just be there, listen to them, and make sure that they would have access to, in this case, this project is at Riverdale, which is now called L'Altitude, where they have a gym and it's for them to come. And some evenings last year, there was like 117 youth playing basketball together without any organization. So we think that this project is absolutely essential, and I'm really happy that we're passing this again this year.
Merci, Monsieur Langevin. 2009, que soit octroyé un contrat de service à l'organisme à but non lucratif Groupe uni des éducateurs, naturalistes et professionnels en environnement, qui est GAEP, pour la saison 2022 au montant de 46 000, taxes incluses provenant de budget de fonctionnement 2022, pour la gestion et la mise en valeur du parc des anciens combattants, situé au 155 rue Rose, que soit approuvée une convention de service entre l'organisme de la Ville de Montréal établissant les modalités et les conditions de contrat au montant de maximum de 46 000, taxes incluses, provenant du budget de fonctionnement 2022, et que soit autorisé M. Jason Richard, chef de division sport, loisirs et installations, à signer la convention au nom de la Ville. C'est le 2009.
Très contente de proposer.
J'appuie.
Madame Leroux et Madame Talbot, merci. 2010, que soit octroyée une subvention avec convention au montant maximal de 10 000 provenant du budget de fonctionnement 2022, calculé au prorata de la durée de la saison 2022 au tennis Roxboro pour l'entretien des 5 terrains de tennis en terre battue pour la saison estivale 2022, que soit autorisé M. Jason Richard, chef de division sport, loisirs et installations, ou son représentant a signé la convention au nom de la Ville. C'est le 2010.
Je propose.
Et j'appuie.
Madame Leroux, Monsieur Langevin, merci. 2011, that be granted contract 22-19-202 in the lowest compliant tender, Vivaction, Inc., in the amount of $194,972, taxes included, for the management of Valley Crest and Versailles outdoor pools in the borough of Pierrefonds-Roxboro for 1 year with 2-year renewal options. 2011.
I propose.
I concur.
Monsieur Tarak-John, Madame Talbot, merci. 30-01. Que soit approuvée la reddition financière au montant de 510 275 pour la période du 29 janvier au 25 février 2022.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Monsieur Langevin, Madame Talbot, merci. 30-02. Que soit octroyée une somme maximale de 23 023 provenant du fonds réserve pour fin de parc à Équiparc manufacturier d'équipements de parc Inc. pour l'achat de sports de vélo dans les parcs de l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Mme Talbot, Mme Leroux, merci. On est rendu dans le chapitre 40, réglementation. 40-01. Que soit décrété par l'ordonnance numéro mentionné l'autorisation de vendre et de consommer des boissons alcoolisées sur le domaine public le vendredi 12 août 2022 de 11h à 21h et le samedi 13 août de 11h à 21h et le dimanche 14 août 2022 de 11h à 21h dans l'espace délimité du terrain vacant situé à l'ouest de la mairie d'arrondissement et indiqué au plan joint à la présente à l'occasion du festival Ribfest 2022, le tout conformément aux dispositions de l'article 20.5 du règlement CA 29-0010 concernant les nuisances et le bon ordre sous réserve de l'obtention par l'organisme sur permis d'alcool approprié de la Régie des alcools, des courses et des jeux. C'est le 40-01.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. Et j'espère de vous voir au Ribfest prochainement au mois d'août. Vous savez, ça attire 35 000 personnes juste cette fin de semaine à Pierrefonds-Roxboro pour participer au Ribfest. C'est un levée de fonds majeur pour les grands frères, grandes sœurs de l'ouest de l'île. Et encore, si c'était jamais le cas, j'espère que vous allez participer pour la première fois à cet événement.
Peut-être ajouter un truc sur le Ribfest. En prévision du jour de la Terre, saviez-vous que tous vos ribs, on les met dans vos jardins? Saviez-vous que tout ce qui est jeté durant cet événement-là, et aussi les assiettes qu'on utilise, l'écoquartier en fond du compost.
Oui.
Fait que venez manger des ribs, on va faire des plantes.
40-02. Que soit approuvé le PIA, agrandissement du rez-de-chaussée et ajout d'un deuxième étage à la résidence unifamiliale isolée existant au 12 rue Fortier et le lot mentionné, c'est le 40-02.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Madame Talbot et M. Tarak-John, est-ce qu'on a eu des proposeurs appuyeurs pour 40-01? Madame Cloutier? 40, merci. 40-03, que soit approuvé le PIA remplacement de la clôture en maille de chêne existante par une clôture ornementale au 12 662 boulevard Gouin-Ouest et le lot mentionné, c'est le 40-03.
Je propose.
Et j'appuie.
Madame Leroux, M. Langevin, merci. 40-04, que le Conseil refuse le PIA construction d'un nouveau bâtiment unifamilial isolé de 2 étages au 5911 rue Marceau et le lot mentionné 40-04.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
M. Langevin, Mme Leroux, merci. 40-05. Maintenant, j'ai une liste de propositions. 7 items. Que soit approuvé le procès-verbal de la Comité de circulation et sécurité routière du 24 février 2022. Numéro 1, rue des Érades. Que soit installé un ralentisseur de vitesse avec dimension, marquage et signalisation conforme au nombre de tombes V de Transport Québec sur la rue des Érables, vers le centre de tronçon d'une distance égale des entrées charretières des adresses civiques 4894 et 4896 rue des Érables, tel qu'indiqué au croquis numéro mentionné 6 juin. Le numéro 2, rue Louis-Fréchette, que soit installé sur le boulevard de Pierrefonds, à l'approche ouest de la rue Louis-Fréchette, une signalisation P110-3G, obligation d'aller tout droit ou de tourner à gauche avec Pononceau pour limiter l'empreinte des rues Louis-Fréchette et Valentine comme alternative au boulevard Saint-Charles à l'heure de pointe le matin, tel qu'indiqué au croquis numéro mentionné 6 juin. Numéro 3, c'est l'intersection de boulevard Gouin et Saint-Jean, que soit déplacée la traverse piétonne située du côté ouest de l'intersection pour la sécurité après la ligne d'arrêt. Pour l'accessibilité universelle, nous devons refaire 2 sections de trottoir du côté nord de la rue, le trottoir dans la courbe, du côté sud-ouest, ainsi que l'îlot déviateur. Une réalisation pourrait être effectuée fin 2022 ou en 2023 selon les budgets disponibles. Le numéro 4, que soit remplacé. Numéro 3, j'ai oublié un paragraphe. En dernière phase de ces travaux, effacer le marquage et enlever les 2 panneaux de la traverse piétonne éliminés situés du côté ouest de l'intersection, effectuer un nouveau marquage pour traverser le trottoir courbe vers l'îlot déviateur, ainsi que le marquage pour traverser le boulevard Gouin-Ouest étant sur une artérielle administrative, voir si ce projet doit être validé par la Ville-Centre. Numéro 4, que soient remplacés les panneaux de traverse piétonne existants avec des panneaux de traverse piétonne lumineux qui sont activés par le piéton lorsqu'il désire traverser. Au cas où il y aura des réaménagements géométriques pour cette intersection en 2024, le concept de cet îlot déviateur devrait être évalué par la direction de la mobilité de façon à intégrer les traverses piétonnes et la piste cyclable à un endroit plus convenable et même la possibilité d'éliminer complètement l'îlot déviateur pour prioriser. Le numéro 5, la rue Normand. That the organization and residents be allowed to coexist on this street, maintain the regulatory provision in Pierrefonds Bylaws 868 that limits 4 spaces, special permits per residence, and remove the parking restrictions on the west side of Normand between Boulevard Gouin West for the distance of approximately 80 meters to allow 1 on-street parking for approximately 12 vehicles without the need for a single permit or special permit. To do this, remove the no parking except for permit holder sign on the west side of Rue Normand, located north of 4994, and the one near 4990 Rue Normand, and install the no parking except for the permit holders sign that on the same side of the street at the property line between 4976 and 4980 Rue Normand, with an arrow to indicate the beginning of the zone towards Rue Fabienne. Number 6, numéro 6. Que vu que le boulevard Gouin-Ouest est très étroit, souvent sans trottoir pour piétons, en chaussée partagée avec cyclistes, majoritairement bordée par des parcs avec résidences patrimoniales en bordure de la voie publique, de réduire et d'harmoniser la vitesse sur le boulevard Gouin-Ouest à 30 km/h entre l'avenue du Château-Pierrefonds et la limite ouest de l'arrondissement, près du chemin de l'Anse-à-Lorme. Dans le but d'améliorer la sécurité des piétons, cyclistes, résidents et automobilistes, l'avis de la Direction de la mobilité a considéré que le boulevard Gouin-Ouest étant un réseau artériel administratif ville. Numéro 7. Que soit installée une signalisation pour la rue Louis-Fréchette. Que soit installée une signalisation pour interdire le stationnement en tout temps du côté ouest durant la période hivernale. 2 panneaux du côté ouest, stationnement interdit du 1er novembre au 1er avril, comme indiqué au croquis 6 juin. Ça me prend un proposeur appuyeur pour ce point.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire.
J'appuie.
Madame Talbot, Monsieur Langevin, merci. Il nous reste 2 points, en fait, avant la continuation des questions. Le 5101, que soit nommé Gaétan Brunet, chef de division ressources financières, matérielles et informationnelles, Marie-Pierre Cloutier, chef de division relations avec les citoyens et communication, et Jean-Sébastien Gagnon, directeur services administratifs à titre de secrétaire d'arrondissement substitut pour l'arrondissement de Pierrefonds-Roxboro à partir du 5 avril 2022.
Je propose.
Et j'appuie.
Monsieur Tarakjan, Monsieur Langevin, merci. 6001, que le Conseil prenne acte du procès-verbal de la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme tenue le 9 mars 2022. C'est le 6001.
Je propose.
Monsieur Langevin, Madame Talbot. Madame Cloutier, on continue maintenant avec la période de questions pour les gens qui restent. Je pense
Il te reste 7001.
On ne peut pas fermer la séance avant qu'on termine la période des questions. Madame Cloutier.
Ça me prendrait un proposeur, appuyeur.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Alors, nous allons continuer la période de questions. Je demanderai à Mario Rossi de venir au podium. Merci.
Hello, everyone. Mr. Bass, I'm here for the Valley Crest community. We spoke earlier today. I've been going there for over 14 years. I was there when you built the new pool. I thank you for that. It was fantastic. I have an older daughter who's a lifeguard there right now. It's going to be her 2nd year, and a younger daughter who's an avid swimmer and a water polo player, et cetera, et cetera. You said earlier that Vivaction would run the pool and the hiring.
Yes.
Does that include all of the staff, the front desk, and the lifeguards?
All the lifeguards were, there was a priority in the tendering process to make sure that those employees were prioritized, okay? So that is what we've even put in writing in the tendering process to make sure that the employees that are there, and as I mentioned earlier, some of these young people have been there since an early age, participating in the aquatic services, yep, and have become now employees and lifeguards. And that is the goal, is to keep the continuity of the staffing. And that's what we made sure that we included in the tendering process, so that whoever was to get the contract didn't disregard at least the people that are there, not only for the quality of work that they've provided, but also for the residents that go there and are used to seeing these people there, to make sure that they see the familiar places again.
Sure. So there's also a young girl here who's a lifeguard at the Valley Crest. So you're saying that all contracts that have been given to our young community members that have been signed with Valley Crest will be honored by this new company?
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that because the contract that's signed with Valley Crest, we have no jurisdiction over that.
Okay.
Valley Crest signed those contracts with them, not the city. We, on the other hand, knowing that those young people may be looking for work elsewhere or may not be hired, we made sure that we added that in the tendering process so that they will be the ones that will be prioritized first. Okay. Some may say that they're not interested in coming back, but the ones that are interested in coming back, we've made provisions that allow for them to come back with this company. As a matter of fact, if I was a company that was taking over a pool like that, taking over at least the operations part of it, I would want to have some familiarity there and people that know what they're doing.
Agreed.
And so that's the goal. But in terms of the contract signing with Valley Crest Pool, we don't have a say in that, because those agreements are done with the Valley Crest Pool Association. Even beforehand, we never had those agreements with them. So I can't speak of that, to be honest with you. You'd have to ask the Valley Crest administration to see what they have to say about that. We made sure that those kids were protected, and that's what we've done.
Okay, because the young girl here and my daughter, I know, have not looked for jobs, and it's
That's
April
good.
1st. Well, okay, so they're going to be contacted by this new company to come and work.
What I recommend is when we speak to the pool, that we will make sure that we repeat that message to them, to make sure. And actually, and as mentioned to you on the phone earlier today, we have lifeguards that have contacted us directly.
Okay.
It hasn't been the association. We've been contacted by lifeguards that have told us, look, we want to work. And so we're putting them in direct contact, the ones that have contacted us, with the company, and then they will be the ones that will be prioritized.
Okay.
So that's something that we've taken into consideration.
So we should get the young girl here, and my daughter should contact who in order to make this mechanism
Well,
work?
look, we'll make that clear this week, okay? When we speak to the pools, we'll make it clear to them that they need to advise their lifeguards accordingly, and then they will be the ones that will send that information to the company, and they will be the ones that will be prioritized, okay? Let's go with that.
Okay. It's just because if they are the ones who are hiring, the lifeguards, and if they are not to provide the services that Valley Crest once did, they will need less lifeguards.
I don't know the operational aspects of what they're going to do.
Okay.
We don't know. Again, we're speculating. I mentioned this on the phone. I don't want to speculate now. I'm hopeful that the Valley Crest Pool Association will assume a role of providing these services. I really am. I'm very hopeful.
Okay.
And if that happens, then I suspect that the hours given to these young lifeguards will remain, if not the same, very close to being the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal, right? And so I can't speak of that yet because that discussion hasn't continued. It had taken place, but we don't have a definite answer yet. And so this week, when we do that discussion with them, all that's going to be back on the table, and hopefully you're going to have folks that are going to step up and say, well, okay, we're able to do that part of it. And then it will provide some peace, at least, for the young people that have been there.
No, but just
for a long
that.
time.
So even if Valley Crest pulls out, the new company will contact these lifeguards.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
That's why we're going to make sure that all that information is given to the staff. We're not going to give it to the staff because I don't know the staff.
Okay.
We're going to make sure that we communicate that information to the administration of the pool, and they will advise their lifeguards accordingly. We'll make sure we take care of at least advising them on what to do, okay? And the provisions are in place in the contract that they prioritize these kids before anybody else. I can't go any further than that.
No, if there's a provision in the contract that they prioritize the kids, definitely that's what
Yes.
we want.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much for waiting and asking
No
your
problem.
question.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I now ask Eliza Petrian to come forward. Thank you.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, you?
Good.
So, as Mr. Rossi said, I am a lifeguard at the Valley Crest Pool, and so far you've mentioned that there's a clause in this new agreement that prioritizes us, but there's no guarantee that we'll keep our contracts.
I'll tell you why there's no guarantee. Because the governing entity, this new company, first of all, congratulations on being a lifeguard. And why I tell you that is because it's a very high-risk, high-stress, high-pressure environment that you work, and you all do it so well. I know because my daughter is at a pool almost every day, and I know what it is to be a lifeguard. I don't know what it is, but I see what it is to be a lifeguard, so I have to commend you for that, okay? That's excellent that you're doing that. I can't guarantee it. Why? Because the company will make sure that the people that apply will have the competencies to be able to do that job. I'm not saying you don't, but I can't speak on their behalf to make sure that you have what you need to be a lifeguard. I suspect you all do because you all have done that for a while, right? So we're going to make sure that we reiterate that fact to the company, and we will make sure again, like we have before, through legal documents that clearly states that they prioritize you. They're going to be in shortage of workers anyways. And the only way that they'll be able to get connected to the community is to bring back you and others that have been there for some time that can bring that continuity back to the pool environment. That's the goal. Nobody wants to replace you by bringing in, respectfully, generic lifeguards from anywhere to do the job that you've been doing with your soul for so long. We want to keep some of that, and that's why we made sure that that was in the document and clearly indicated.
So we will have to be contacted by Viv Action and go through another hiring process. So submit our CV, go through the interview. So there is a chance that even if we have worked at Valley Crest for a while, they will decide not to hire us.
I suspect the way it's going to work is that once we give that information to Valley Crest Pool, they will advise you on the course of action. So yes, you will have to, like anything else, you will have to apply. They can't take Valley Crest's word that you can do the job. But if you've been doing the job and you are a lifeguard at the pool already and you have the requirements necessary to be a lifeguard, then I wouldn't worry. because that's what they're looking for. Can I guarantee it? No, because I'm not running the company. But the company knows full well that they need to bring you guys on board so that they can run a viable community pool. So I can't go further than that because I can't speak on their behalf. All I know is we've clearly stated it. We will apply the pressure, and we will make sure that they do everything possible to hire all of you back, the ones that are willing to come back, to continue the wonderful work that you've been doing for the longest time. So that's the goal. But like I mentioned earlier, be patient. We're going to send that information to Valley Crest as of the next day or so, and then you will all be advised accordingly, okay?
So is it the next day, or I heard that it's the next week? Because
Well, look,
with all due respect, sir,
yeah.
applications for other pools have happened in the previous summer. So if we have to make sure now, if we will have these jobs or if we have to apply, we have to be aware of the procedure as soon as possible to start looking for other employment if we need it.
Respectfully, I know exactly how the system works in the pools, and I know when you're hired, it's the year before.
Yeah.
Because they want to guarantee the teams.
Exactly.
I get it. But I also have to respect the workload of our people, making sure that they get it right. And once this is done tonight, I'm hopeful that it'll be tomorrow, but I have to give them at least the opportunity to put all the wheels in motion. And once they do that, you will be notified. The pool, the company that's getting this contract, is coming with this contract knowing that for them, the first step is to call on you guys, because that's the requirement. So they're not going to come in with their own skeletal staff and disregard all of you from the get-go, because that's not the intention. The intention is to bring you guys back. So, like I mentioned to somebody before, I know it's not easy because you've had this sort of in the works for the long time, knowing you're going to come back. But just try to be patient, and we'll make sure we get the wheels in motion to get you guys back, okay? Please, be patient, because I can't tell you more than that tonight. I'm just telling you that we've done everything, and we will continue to do everything to represent you all, to make sure that you can at least ensure your jobs to work for these guys like you've been doing in the past, okay? And hopefully Valley Crest is going to find people that will be willing to do the programming part of it, or at least the competitive side of it, that will be able to continue the wonderful work that we've been known to do at Valley Crest, among other pools.
Okay.
Thank you very much for waiting.
Thank you very much.
You're not going to call anybody. We will advise Valley Crest Pool and Versailles, for that matter, and they will contact their, because we don't have any contact with all the staff. Okay?
Thank you. We're going to continue with Mr. Avram Petrian.
Hi.
Hi there.
Following in my daughter's steps.
I'm sorry?
Following on my daughter's steps. It's
Yes.
like backwards, you know.
Yes.
You talk about the community spirit, and
Yep.
your colleague was mentioning young people that instead of doing other stuff, they are participating in competition and so on. I'm just wondering, as a parent and as a member of this Valley Crest community, what initiated this change? It's a budget thing? It's just you don't want to have it anymore? I mean, the city, what exactly has generated this change that can jeopardize, that put in a real danger a community spirit that has been developed at Valley Crest? You've been there. I mean, probably you see me or I see you, it doesn't matter. But the big meet was held at Valley Crest. It was dozens of people. You know those cheers when you have competition in between pools, when the kids are getting together, and you create this spirit. And now it's in danger to be lost. And I guess you were mentioning that your interest is to keep it, but by your action, you are breaking it. So that's my question.
And I appreciate
Why it's happening this?
I appreciate you taking the time to ask that question. I'm going to repeat as carefully as possible what I mentioned earlier. This reconstruction of our outdoor pool system has been in the works for close to 10 years. We had, and I don't know how long you've been part of Valley Crest.
5 years.
For over 10 years. We're in this room. I met with the mayor at that time, and all the pools were present, and we presented to them our long-term plan for aquatic services in the borough, knowing that we were working towards achieving our indoor facility one day, knowing that we had analyzed twice and paid large amounts of money to analyze the public pools, not public, they were private pools by membership because we didn't own them, to make sure what the state of these facilities were. Not surprisingly, they came back with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs that were required that wouldn't necessarily make them new, but will essentially band-aid them, 50 to 60-year-old facilities, you can imagine. And you see the state of some of them, right? Not only here, in other communities too. I managed all the ones in Dollard. I know exactly how they were. So the larger plan was to create municipal pools where we can offer the services for free and not have people paying memberships. The ones that wanted to participate in the competitive aspect of the pool would be charged a membership by the partner organization. Valleycrest was the first one at that time to put up their hand and said, look, we're handing over our property, build the new pool. And I'm not telling you because I heard that, I'm telling you because I was there. And they said, let's do it. And we jumped in and we built this pool. The millions of dollars that it cost, and you see the facility that it is today, used by thousands. I don't have the exact number, but something like 15,000 people last summer, for example, for free of charge, on top of that community aspect of competitions and NAA and the socials and all that. So our goal was to create that, which would allow for somebody to walk in and use the facility en masse like they're doing now, but also have that aspect of that community thing, right? And maybe some of the ones that would walk off the street to use the facility for free may see, hey, look what's going on. Maybe I want to get involved in maybe the water polo or something, and then they become a member. So create sort of a dual thing, right? And it worked successfully. Before the holidays last year, we were told by members of the executive that they weren't planning on coming back. When we're managing a multi-million-dollar facility, state-of-the-art, I need to be sure that we have people in place that can manage it for the safety of the facility and to make sure that it continues. That's when we started talking to both pools at that time, to try to come up with some type of model, right? So then we had no other option to guarantee that this year would work, but to go out to tender, inviting them to also participate, which they didn't. Probably for many reasons, but they didn't. But all that aside, we're not taking away the community spirit, sir, respectfully. The community spirit starts with the people that are there.
Yes.
The community spirit starts with the organization that would want to take those competitive services and run them accordingly. The freebie municipal side of it, because now that pool belongs to the city, liable issues, all kinds of insurance issues, it belongs to the city. But we've never, ever closed the door on an association assuming the role of providing these services at all.
Those services are not for free.
That's right.
We are paying not...
That's right.
I mean, like you said, you go to swim, it's for free. Yeah, it's I don't know, $15 for family, etc. It's not the... But if you want to go to do those activities, you have to pay.
That's right.
It's a membership, so it's not for free.
That's right.
But now, by having a different management that, honestly, personally, I have no idea what are they plan. And my second question is, do you have a timeline for that Vivaction company to present the people in the community to say, yes, we will continue with this, to offer the possibility to have a synchro water polo?
They're not offering that,
or
sir.
We are not going to allow this to happen to our pool? Because like my daughter, she needs to find a new job.
Yeah.
I have with my other daughter to find a new pool to go with. And there are a bunch of other kids, and as you know, they are start testing, and each of them are looking for a different pool. So when you say that the spirit, it will not be destroyed, I don't agree with you, because they are start losing, they are start living, they are start breaking up everything that has been, like you mentioned, created and entertained for a couple of years.
So let me make this as simple as possible. We are not taking away the services. Valley Crest Pool has always provided those services, the association. The company that is assuming the role of managing the pool doesn't do the programming. The programming comes from Valley Crest Pool Association. And what I'm telling you is Valley Crest Pool Association still exists, and they can, if they choose to, continue offering those programs that you pay for and the kids participate in all of that. That is still there if they choose to do it.
And if they don't choose to do it?
Then it doesn't happen. Then it's a pool like every other pool in Montreal that has free swims, some fitness courses, free of charge to the residents, and it'll attract thousands of people a day. But you're right, it will not have that aspect of competition.
It's
You're
not
right.
necessarily competition. They will have swim lessons.
But that's what I mean. When I say competition, I mean, you know, the synchro, the water polo, and all that. That's what I mean. But that won't exist. If Valley Crest says no, they don't want to do it, then that can't exist. Because the contract, the private entity won't do that.
But if that private entity will limit the time slot allocated for those activities, it's a possibility.
Well,
to say per day, I mean, my daughter, she has 1 hour.
No, but sir, I don't mean to cut you off because we have to get to the last person there. But but this is important enough. So, and I understand. We have made sure in the tendering process that there is time allocated for these programs. You know that door that we walk through every day? It's open. Nobody has closed that door. That door is open for Valley Crest if they don't have an executive, because some may be tired, like I said, and they don't want to continue. Some others could join that association and become a part of that. They can still provide that service. That service is self-supporting anyways, because they generate revenue from charging the people, and then whatever they have to pay, they pay. And they don't have to worry about the administrative part of running a pool because their expertise is running the programs. So we're saying the door is wide, double door is wide open. All they have to say when we talk to them is, do you want to do it or not? Because the opportunity is there. And let me remind you, because if you've been there 5 years, I don't remember when we finished building that pool. It was a bit longer than that.
It's longer than that, yeah.
But when we started that, we started with a hybrid model very similar to what it is now. For 2 years, we had contracted out the administrative, the machines, all that stuff. And we had, at that time, Laura Derry, who was the president, who was managing the programming. So that model kind of worked then too. And then as those 2 years ended up, growing pains, right, transitional phase, we had the association assume a larger role, to the point where that association now is really a skeletal group of people because there's not many that want to continue.
So just to finish my question, is there a timeline for this, let's say, decision for Valley Crest Association, for Vive Action, for the
Vive
City
Action
Hall?
is passed, sir. Vive Action is passed. They have the contract tonight. We passed it. They have the contract to run the pool. It's done. The only thing that's left now is that Valley Crest decides whether they will continue to do the programming or not, and this is what my services will do. If not tomorrow, within the next day or so, tomorrow they'll contact the pool for sure. They have to tell them all this, and then it's up to them to decide. And I've been seeing some things on social media already. People are watching, so they're listening to exactly what I'm saying, and hopefully that message is being translated to some of the people that are there, hopefully.
Okay.
I'm seeing the messages as they come in. Not to me, but I see them conversing. So at least I'm trying to get you the facts. And if I would have had it my way, I would have hoped, I wished, that one of the pools would have bid. I wish that one of the pools would have bid to assume that role entirely. I can't go now, I can't turn the clock back in time, twist their arm and say bid. I can't.
No, it's done, I understand. But it's just all these words that community spirit, you know, young people not doing other stuff, it's it's getting lost. That's my only concern, and it's unfortunate. And
look,
this is what it is.
I hear you, and I'm sensitive to the whole thing because I know that environment very well. I told you my daughter's a pool kid. She's there all the time.
I know.
get it.
I saw you several times.
No, but she's a pool kid. She does synchro and dollar. Look, let me tell you this. Community starts with us, individually. Then it goes to the home, to the neighborhood, to the pool, to the park. That's how community is built. And so if you, and I see the passion you have, if you are interested in somehow contributing to the evolving of what Valley Crest will become, well, then I urge you to get involved at that level, because I think that you have at least the desire to do that.
I have no time. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe the ones that decided not to go back to Valley Crest to continue this process, maybe they don't have any time either. And unfortunately, I can't create that time for them either, and I understand.
But this should be, if it's a matter of budget or something, should be discussed. But
it's not about a budget, sir. It's a matter of efficiency, and for us providing a viable service and a safe service in our community that continues in time. That's our goal. It's not about money. It's about making sure that we have adequate services for our community when I don't have the people that want to continue. That's what it is.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for taking the time.
Bonjour, alors j'appellerai M. Aurélien Leblé.
Bonsoir, messieurs, dames.
Bonsoir, bonsoir.
Dernier pour la fin, je vais faire ça très court. Je me suis installé dans votre communauté maintenant il y a 3 ans. J'ai décidé d'habiter sur le boulevard Lalande. Exceptionnel. Pourquoi j'ai choisi ça aussi? C'est les transports en commun qui s'en viennent. Pour moi, c'est l'avenir. Je pense que l'accès à l'automobile, les enfants, ils n'en auront pas. C'est exceptionnel. Juste que pendant les 3 ans, ce que je vois, c'est le manque de sécurité pour les piétons au niveau du boulevard Lalande et puis les rues adjacentes. Donc ma question est très courte. Est-ce qu'il y a une planification de votre côté pour améliorer ça pour la sécurité de nos enfants, mais aussi des gens qui viennent profiter de la belle vue et tout ça? Donc c'est ça, je voulais savoir s'il y avait quelque chose de mis en place.
Oui, merci. Merci beaucoup de prendre le temps de poser la question. Il est 9h10. Effectivement, vous avez vu ce soir dans l'ordre du jour qu'on a refusé une résolution sur un projet sur la Lande, à cause qu'on n'a pas eu de soumission.
Wow.
4 preneurs de cahiers, pas de soumission.
Incroyable.
Ça, c'est pour la conception du tronçon La Lande entre le boulevard Saragay et plus haut, comme j'ai mentionné. Dans cette conception, on voulait intégrer soit une voie réservée pour les piétons, vélos, etc. Pas partagée, mais protégée sur la rue. Malheureusement, on n'a pas eu de soumission. Je sais qu'on travaille présentement avec les équipes internes pour trouver des solutions, comment on va procéder sur le tronçon de la Lande. On veut absolument faire quelque chose, pas juste pour sécuriser la rue, mais de rendre l'espace accessible. On a les 3 écoles qui sont Beaubois, puis les 2 écoles primaires. On a le parc. On a investi beaucoup pour refaire le parc des anciens combattants aussi. Maintenant, c'est comment on va rendre cet espace accessible. Et on a déjà planifié ça depuis quand même longtemps. On était prêt à accepter la soumission ce soir.
Il n'y a personne qui...
Malheureusement, on n'avait pas... Et moi, je pense que ça va arriver beaucoup là, dans les mois et les années à venir là, au niveau de services professionnels, parce qu'ils débordent déjà partout, j'imagine. Là, personne n'a pris la peine de soumissionner. On a regardé à l'intérieur, à l'interne, pour voir si on a de l'expertise. Et si on n'a pas l'expertise, peut-être d'aller chercher l'expertise pour nous aider avec la planification de ce tronçon-là. Une chose est sûre, c'est qu'aussitôt qu'on a quelque chose à proposer, c'est sûr qu'on va aller faire une présentation, peut-être ici, peut-être dans le centre culturel, comme on fait habituellement, Jerry Robertson, même Saugoin, de présenter le projet éventuel. Pour avoir le feedback des gens aussi qui restent là.
Génial.
On est rendu là, je vous dis.
Puis, Ouais, c'est ça. Donc
Mais je n'ai pas d'échéancier, c'est ça que je vous dis. J'espère j'espère pour cette année-là ou l'année prochaine, comme M. Jacob mentionne.
Okay.
On voulait cette année, mais je ne sais pas si ça serait possible à cause qu'on n'a pas eu de soumission maintenant. Il faut revoir le dossier et j'espère qu'on serait capable de le faire le plus rapidement possible. C'est nécessaire à cet endroit-là.
Ça répond à ma question, puis je suis ravi que ce soit un dossier important pour vous.
Effectivement.
C'est tout pour moi.
Puis merci beaucoup d'attendre et de poser la question.
Merci.
Bonne soirée, merci.
Je pense qu'on avait une dernière question de M. Christophe Lauzon. Celui-ci a quitté la salle. Alors,
Il a quitté?
Il a quitté.
OK. Ça termine la séance conseil. Pour ceux et celles qui sont intéressés, qu'est-ce qui va arriver avec la piscine Valley Crest? Je vous encourage, si vous êtes intéressé, de participer dans le processus avec l'association Valley Crest. Je sais, il y a des gens qui nous regardent. Je reçois, mon téléphone n'a pas arrêté. Les gens qui nous envoient des commentaires suite à mes paroles. Parce que ce n'est pas du tout ça que it wasn't what I was reading all day on social media. So once we start to explain the process, people start to understand, oh, maybe that's what's happening. And I don't mean it in any critical or blaming way to anybody. I just want to make sure that everyone has the facts. But know one thing, we're working as hard as we can to make sure that the continuity of what we know at Valley Crest continues. And it's not monitoring a pump or making sure if the water quality is a certain way or necessarily even hiring the staff, even if it's the same staff, that makes the difference. It's the programming that affects the day-to-day of an outdoor pool. And that's what the Pool Association has expertise in doing, is bringing the people together, the social gatherings, the canteen, for heaven's sake, all the simple things, to me, that devote a lot of time for the volunteers to put together. Comme ça, si vous êtes disponible d'aider l'association, faire le mieux possible et continuer de donner un service extraordinaire, mais je vous invite de participer dans le processus, s'il vous plaît. No, because the lifeguards are going to be hired by the company, and they will be there when the service is taking place. Again, I don't want to start getting into details, please, because I'd rather those negotiations take place with the pool. We will inform them, and then they will talk with their membership. But again, respectfully to the staff, we're doing everything we can, and the ultimate goal is to keep them all. But that's just one part, because they can keep all the staff, and none of the programs exist, and we're no further ahead. It's just that the staff are saved. And what I'm hearing here tonight, there's a whole thing. It's the staff, it's the sense of belonging, it's the programs. I get it. And that will be the conversation we're going to have with our teams, with the associations within the next day or so, okay? Merci à toutes et tous.
Je vais avoir besoin d'un proposant
pour
la levée de...
Je pense que c'était M. Langevin et Mme Leroux. Puis, on vous voit, j'espère, le mois prochain. Si les mesures sanitaires ne changent pas, j'espère de vous voir en grand nombre le mois prochain. And I hope that next month, a lot of what we're talking about tonight is resolved, okay? Hopefully. Good night, folks. Good night.